So, a little while ago, my friend was really obsessing over this anime, K-Project, and he really wanted me to watch it. And so, of course, I asked him what it was about. And his response, after a few minutes of thought, was, there are these kings and I'm like, okay, fine, don't tell me. So I went off, and I watched it, and now I'm here to tell you that in K-Project, there are these kings, and...
Lonely, smelly, can and keys. Tell me what's your name.
Welcome one and all, I am Coriander Stone, and today I will attempt at least to review the 2012 anime from studios Gora and Gohan, the anime original, K-Project. It should be noted that I recommend watching at least the first 2 or 3 episodes before watching this review, because a lot of the way the show hooks and sucks you in is that you have no idea what's going on, and your want to find that out is what keeps you so involved. And so for maximal viewing and enjoyment purposes, I would tell you to go watch the first couple of episodes before continuing with this review or any other summary. That being said, we shall ourselves continue. Now, for anyone who has been paying attention to the background imagery all this time, you might have noticed that this is a show full of, quite literally, very colorful characters. And yes, I do mean literally, because this is a character-driven show based around color. Welcome to the world of the Dresden Slate. The slate, a mysterious and powerful object, grants this incredible power to 7 individuals known as kings. Each king is granted this power through a medium known as a Sword of Damocles, a physical representation of that king's power. And each king has the ability to pass on some part of that power to their clansmen, or those who serve them. This is a pretty cool setup because it allows for a large number of different structural groups to be set up within it. Since each clan is organized completely differently, run completely differently, and values completely different things, each clan is like a little government or universe in and of itself. Whether you have Homura, the Red Clan, which is basically a gang full of fighters, or you've got Blue Clan Sector 4, a military government unit out to keep order, the powerful and mysterious Gold Clan, or those kings who choose not to have a clan at all, well, like that of the even more mysterious and more powerful Silver King. All of these are fascinating options, and the show really explores each and every one of them, for like I said, this is a very character-based anime. It doesn't spend its time wandering around in pursuit of a main plot, but rather spends its time focusing on each of the characters, they themselves contributing aspects to the puzzle pieces that form a sort of overall picture or plot of the universe. That's not to say that the show isn't fast-paced though, because it is. Very. It's the sort of show you really have to watch 2 or 3 times to pick up everything, because there's just so much information and so much to grasp. But at the same time, it's all presented in a reasonably accessible way, which allows the show to be watchable and completely cohesive even on your first run-through. So, as I keep saying, the characters are what make up the body of this show. And so let's move into the characters with our protagonist? I say that with a question mark because, honestly, while this show does technically have a protagonist and follow the protagonist, you could pretty much make an argument that, especially as it goes on, it's a lot more of an open field. Meet Yashiro Isana, generic high school protagonist number 1029. He is our protagonist. He is in high school. He's the class clown. He has a cat. Great. Now he's out doing his shopping, and now supernatural people are trying to kill him. I bet he's about to get sucked into the supernatural world through some plot hook like someone asking for help. Or they could just accuse him of murdering one of their clansmen. That works too. And now when I say accuse, I'm not talking some second-hand testimony, lousy lack of alibi setup or chump job or anything like that. I'm saying they've got a video feed of him brutally murdering a Homura member in cold blood, and at the same time proclaiming himself to be the 7th and colorless king. Whoops. Shiro, I think you've got other things to do than shop right around now. Now, despite what I said a few seconds ago about him being your generic high school protagonist, because at first he does seem like he's being presented that way, Yashiro's actually a really amazing character. He proves by episode 2 that he's not only intelligent, but clever, quick on the uptake, and has no problem lying and deceiving people. Well, if he gets him what he wants. Although, considering what he wants is to not get murdered, I'd say that you kind of gotta be sympathetic toward the guy. That said, the entire time, even though his life's on the line out of nowhere from these guys wielding crazy superpowers that he's never heard of, he's got a really casual attitude about it. It's sort of a, oh, you're accusing me of murder, you just tried to kill me? That's awkward. I'm gonna go get lunch. Sort of thing. And it's actually a really great personality for a character like this to have. He's clever enough to get himself out of the bad situations, he knows nothing about the situation, and he's casual about it enough that he doesn't mind turning to the people who are about to kill him and asking questions so that the audience along with him can find out what the hell's going on. More to the point, he manages to do it without it feeling like pointless exposition meant only for the sake of the audience. The situation the show puts him in is also very interesting. He's being introduced to this supernatural world out of nowhere by like half a town of supernatural powered guys trying to kill him. I mean, first you've got the other Homura members trying to take revenge for their dead clansmen. Then you've got the members of Scepter 4 trying to arrest him for murder. And then you've got this other guy, Kuro Yachogami. Kuro was a clansman of the late colorless king, Ichigen Miwa, who died recently. Ichigen had the power of foresight, and so he could see that his replacement, the colorless king, was going to be probably evil. And he wouldn't allow a colorless king who was evil to replace him as the 7th king. Now, Ichigen also knew that this colorless king could be incredibly dangerous, because unlike the other kings, whose powers remained the same from generation to generation, the colorless king is the Joker, the weakest of the kings. His major power is that each new colorless king has a power completely unrelated to that of the last, and so you really don't know where they're going to come from. Not wanting anything to result from this, like, oh, I don't know, the death of a Homura clansman and an innocent schoolboy being framed for it or anything, Ichigen sent Kuro to find the new colorless king as a last request, and to determine whether or not he was evil, and if he was evil, to slay him. Now, seeing this video and finding Yashiro, Kuro's pretty much jumped to the assumption, found colorless king evil, colorless king must die. Yeah, no, Yashiro, bad day to go shopping. There is also another protagonist called Neko. Neko is Shiro's cat, and despite her appearance when she first shows up in episode 2, she's not just walking fan service. Neko is a strain, meaning that, like the kings, she too receives power from the slate. However, her power is much less, and she has no ability to pass it on to anyone else. She cannot make clansmen, she does not have 1/10 of the power a king commands, but she can do certain things. Each strain has their own speciality, and Neko's includes an ability to shapeshift into a cat, hence the name, Neko, which means cat. You got it? Now yeah, that brings up one of the slight issues I have with the show, and by that I mean the only issue, and that is the amount of Neko fan service that shows up. Listen, all I can say is what I said before, Neko is not just walking fan service. She's got a bunch of really cool, really interesting plot twists around her, so sit tight and, you know, don't write her off, just for that. Now, as I alluded to before, there's a lot more going on with this show than just the one plot with Yashiro being accused of murdering Tachiro Totsuka. For one thing, there's this whole other plot with the Red King, Mikoto Suo. Mikoto's power levels are reaching a very dangerous level, in which the sword of Damocles could come crashing down. You see, even though the swords are a physical manifestation of a king's power, they are just that, physical. Very real and very dangerous. If they crash to the ground, death, destruction, the works. And, of course, the Blue King, Reishi Munakata, a king who champions justice, law, order, and, you know, his own promotions, can't possibly allow that to happen and must stop Mikoto at any means possible. The most simple solution, of course, is for Mikoto to step down as king, which a king can do at any time with no consequences. They can just give up the power and walk away. However, with Tatara's murder on the loose, and an enemy still out there claiming to be the colorless king and out for his clan's blood, there's no way the close-knit, loyalty-bound Homura king would ever do something of the sort. And so, though friends they must once have been, Munakata, Blue King, and Mikoto, Red King, are engaged in their own battle, and yet not battle, based around several odds: stopping the fall of the sword, saving Mikoto's life, and avenging Tatara's murderer. Then, of course, there are a couple of other plots, one around a Homura member desperately out to avenge Tatara's murder, and an old friend of his, a member of Sector 4 who betrayed Homura, leaving behind Homura and joining Sector 4, and their relationship. And of course, then there's a whole other plotline going on about the Slate, the person who first awakened the Slate's power, the first and Silver King, and the second and Golden King, the power relationship, and the personal relationship. And the Slate's past, of course, comes into play in that story arc as well. Also, I realize I just said arc, but the show isn't in any sort of arc formation, because all of these storylines are constantly interplaying together. All of them are very closely knit, interrelated, and ultimately all lead to the same place: high school. This being an anime, it's always high school. In terms of animation, this anime is absolutely gorgeous, no doubt about it. Beautiful animation combined with a stylized color shading gives the world a unique light, a blending of colors which is incredibly appropriate for its color-rich nature. A lot of what I love about K-Project's animation is that it doesn't just show you what you're looking at, it also helps to add to the feeling of the world. It creates an atmosphere all on its own, even without the context of the story and characters. And that's what animation does at its very, very best. The soundtrack is also very good, with both opening song and final ending song performed by the band Angela, and some very good scores of music on the 13-episode ride in between. Honestly, overall, this is just an amazing show. Beautiful visuals, a soundtrack to match, a plot that kept me on the edge of my seat with everything from mystery aspects of Yashiro trying to prove his innocence while all the while taking himself deeper and deeper into the king's world, the interpersonal conflicts between Mikoto and Munakata as they each put aside their friendship to do what they see as their duty and as they must, a desperate revenge story with Yada as he searches for Totsuka's killer, a large cast of amazing characters, each with their own distinctive personalities, all combined with a surprisingly lighthearted atmosphere and some really great comedy that ranges from slapstick to sarcasm. Honestly, I love every character and every minute of this show, and that is why I award this show with a 5 out of 5 stars. If you're looking for an alternate anime recommendation, or an anime that has some but not all of the qualities or characteristics of K-Project, then first let me point you toward the anime that you've probably been thinking of for the last 5 minutes ever since I started talking about all the different plot lines, the gangs, etc., that being Durarara. Like K-Project, it's got many, many protagonists running around a city full of supernatural powers with a plot that bounces from character to character, not to mention K-Project's Kusanagi is even based off of Shizuo's character design. If you're looking for another mystery, something with a protagonist desperately trying to prove his innocence and a lot of supernatural powers, let me point you toward the fantasy Hiroka no Yusha, or Braves of the Six Flowers. Finally, if you're looking for another anime with dark twists, beautiful animation, a creative and interesting new take on some classic setups, a more modern world, and an incredibly interesting cast, I would point you toward Divine Gate. And with that, I'm out of time, so this is Coriander Stone, and I bid you a good day.